Alright, it is time for yet another controversial ranking by yours truly, Mr. Hat, who's never afraid to speak his mind and piss some losers off who take other people's opinions on YouTube way too seriously. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, but you don't need to be a dick about it. Alright, so this is my ranking from worst to best, all 9 movies. I've reviewed all 9. If you want to check out my reviews, I'll try to leave a link, or you can just look it up. Alright, just Mr. Hat, Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the search bar. I'm sure you'll find it. So, now that I've reviewed all 9, let's do a ranking. Worst to best, the worst one. Number 9 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, because it's just fucking terrible in every way. There's nothing really great about this movie except you got Matthew McConaughey, who's pretty wacky in this. Outside of that, I like nothing else about it. It is just fucking miserable. It's the only one that I don't own, and I refuse to own it. There's no reason to pick it up. So, yeah, I won't go on much longer about it because I don't want to talk about it longer. So, next one, number 8, will be Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 Leatherface. This one is just a little too generic and been here, done that. It tries to go back to the formula of part 1, doing the dinner scene and making it scary again, but also having some of that black comedy in it, and that dark humor. You got Kim Forey in here. I like him, but his character is ridiculous in this movie. Like how many times he dies and comes back, but yeah, there's some things that just really bug me about it. I don't give a shit about the main 2 characters. The final girl at the end just becomes a one-liner machine, and it's generic. I don't like it. It's a 2 out of 5, and every other movie from here on up is at least a 2.5 and more, meaning that I'm okay with them. There's only 2 movies in this franchise that I rate below the halfway point, below average. Just this one and The Next Generation. The rest I'm okay with. Okay to amazing, and I love it. So this is actually a really good franchise. There's only 2 stinkers, and Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 is one of them, in my opinion. Number 7 will be Texas Chainsaw 3D. Do your thing, cuz. I really like the first half of this movie. It's like a quick-paced slasher. It's just Leatherface on his own. You don't got the crazy family element no more. It's trying to do its own thing now. I appreciate that. But in the second half, it just falls apart. The writing is just very contrived. I don't believe for a second that this character would make that switch so quickly and be defending Leatherface or trying to make Leatherface a sympathetic person. Like, no. He's a asshole. He's a cannibal. He's despicable. You're not supposed to like him. So it's a bad move. But some good gore here and there, but some god-awful CGI. So fuck that CGI. It's terrible. It's the worst in the franchise. Next up will be Leatherface, the prequel to the original, directed by the guys who did Inside and Livid and The Deep House recently. I recommend that movie. Pretty good haunted house flick underwater. This movie is pretty brutal at times, a little silly, especially in the open with the chainsaw gift in the birthday party scene. That was kind of silly, but yeah, I like that they tried to do something different here, but again, just like with Texas Chainsaw 3D, I don't think they really fully succeeded. They tried to do like the Devil's Rejects meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the third act when they're back at the house, and I like that they made the house look kind of similar to the original, but I just feel like this movie dropped the ball. Like, story-wise, characters, like, they should have focused on the family more and made the main protagonist a better main protagonist. I didn't give a shit about her. She's underdeveloped, and she just made really dumb decisions. Number 5 will be Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I really enjoy this movie, but there's just some things that bug me, some things that don't make sense plot-wise. It's very over the top. It's extremely gory. I love the Tom Savini effects in this movie, but I don't like Drayton in this movie. I find him to be really agitating. And I just feel like this movie overstays its welcome. It's so insane for so long that it actually gets tiresome and just exhausting. So I feel like a few minutes needed to be trimmed from this movie and have it take place at the radio station longer. Have more of what's his face, Dennis Hopper, in this movie because I really like his character. That chainsaw shopping scene is my favorite scene. It's hilarious. Number 4, we'll go to the other prequel to the remake, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. This one, I like that it tries to maintain the look and feel of the remake. It's a different cinematographer, a different director, but for the most part, it still kind of has that gritty, sweaty, hot Texas look and feel that the remake did, and also the original, of course. But this one, it's more in line with the remake. Like, this is a good movie to watch before the remake. It's a good back-to-back watch, and they really do try to explain so many things in the remake that I don't think they needed to, like missing teeth. Like, how do he lose his teeth? How does this guy lose his legs? It's like, it's not important. But I love Arlie Ermey in this movie. He's just as good, if not better, than he was in the remake. And I love Andrew Bernarski playing Leatherface once again. I think he's the only guy who's played Leatherface more than once. He's just big, badass, intimidating as hell. And this movie is one of the gorier installments as well. This one, the newer one, and part 2 are the 3 goriest in my opinion. Alright, it's time for everyone to start freaking the fuck out. Top 3, baby. And like I said, all 3 I rate the same, but my number 3 is the original. That's right. So, yeah, I don't have any nostalgia for this movie, so maybe that's why it's easy for me to sit here and put it at 3 instead of number 1, like most people would. I didn't grow up with this movie. I didn't see it until a few years ago. I grew up with the remake, so I have nostalgia for that one, and that's why I put that one right above this one. But it's also just because I enjoy those movies more than this one. But I still really like the original, but it's just I enjoy the other ones more. This one, I just take issue with the characters, the protagonists. When I compare it to the remake and even the new one, I don't really like these characters as much. I like Franklin because he's funny. He's grown on me. At first, I fucking hated him. He was really annoying. But, subsequent views since, like, I really like Franklin now. But the other characters are just dull in the dialogue. It just feels very, like, improvised on set. Like, there was no script. They're just talking about nonsense that's not important and not interesting. Like, it just needed better dialogue and better protagonists for me to put it above the other 2 movies. Because I do like the documentary feel, the grittiness, it just looks dirty and sweaty, and it's a very intense movie for the time. The third act is very loud and insane, and I love the ending of this movie, but it's just the first act really needed better dialogue, better character setup. I just didn't like these characters. So that's why I put it below the other 2. That's my reason. So if you don't agree with it, that's fine, but I'm just telling you why it's at number 3 and not higher up. So number 3, the original. Number 2 is the new one. I don't get the hate. I think this movie is better written than most people are giving it credit for. It's not dumb. I buy into it 100%. I get why they're there. Whereas in the original, I don't even understand where they're going. I guess they just ran out of gas conveniently next to one of their grandpa's houses. But I don't know. I'm done talking about that one. But in this one, it's like I understand why they're there. These characters are developed. Like, these are well-written characters, and I like them. A lot of people just fucking hate these characters for some reason, but I like them. And this ending is the best ending since the original. This has the most gore. It's well shot. I don't really like what they do with Sally's character, bringing her back. I would prefer her not come back and just have that character be a police officer. I just feel like they introduce her character and don't do much with her. But outside of that, almost flawless to me. I just think this is an amazing, gory, quickly paced, well shot, well acted for the most part, slasher with a kick-ass Leatherface. He's not my favorite. He's my second favorite. Love the new mask. The score kicks ass by Colin Stetson, who did Hereditary. Like, so many things about this movie. There's hardly any bad, dumb decisions. Everyone's acting like there's fucking moronic decisions left and right. I don't see it. Point it out to me in the comments below if you want, but I hardly saw any dumb decisions. I think this movie is great. So I don't understand what people are complaining about. It does not deserve the low, like, 2.2 on Letterboxd right now. Like, and I'm not sure where it is on IMDb right now, but I can imagine it's probably heading towards the 4s. It's probably around 5 right now. But it's ridiculous. It's a fun, quick-paced, gory slasher. Like I said, everything before, like, it's great. Fucking love that ending. I've seen it 4 times, so I can confidently say that it is my number 2. I love it. So, fuck the haters. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. That's the big thing I don't like about this movie is the title. Give it a different title. So yeah, number 2, the new one. Check it out on Netflix if you haven't. Ignore the haters. It's amazing. But number 1, we'll go to the remake. The first one I saw as a kid, and the one that scared me, the one that still is terrifying to me, the one that has the most intense and terrifying Leatherface, played by Andrew Bernarski. To me, I love his portrayal. I love his mask that he's wearing. It's the best, most creepiest one. I don't really care for them showing why he wears the mask, because he doesn't have a nose. I didn't need the explanation, but outside of that, another damn near flawless addition to the franchise. I think it's amazing. It takes place in the 70s. I thought that was a great thing that they did. I wish more remakes would do that. You know, like the Friday the 13th remake, if they put it in the 80s. These characters are great. You know where they're going. They're very well acted. I love their dialogue. They're very witty. Talking about STDs at the beginning, and he's cock blocking his friend, and they're just pulling little pranks on each other. Like, I like these characters. They're better characters. It's much more intense. It's very brutal, very gritty and sweaty, just like the original. Same cinematographer. It's very well shot. Love the score, just like the new one, and it's just fantastic. They take little elements from the original. They don't copy too much. They don't redo the whole third act like a lot of the sequels try to do. They don't have that dinner table scene in this one. I love that they did something different, and they took it to the meat packing place, and that's the perfect location for this franchise. That's a great place to take the final chase. I love Jessica Biel as our new Sally, and the opening and the ending with the black and white, cops investigating that footage. They make it feel like you're watching, real shit, like this really happened, that it's really based on a true story, like it says, but it's, of course, not. But yeah, I love this movie, so it's my number 1 easily. I knew that from the beginning, that was going to be my number 1. I thought for sure that the new one, because I ranked it before I saw it, I predicted that it was going to be my number 4 or 5, but when I watched it, it was at 3 for a little bit, but then I watched it a few more times, and I was like, you know what? I enjoy it more than the original, so it's my number 2. So if you don't like it, I don't care. So there you have it. That is the end of my ranking. Let me know what your ranking is in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get upset about it.